I was 16 the night everything in my life changed. My dad's name is Terry. He's not the villain. He's not the hero. You're going to have to decide for yourself where he fits. Let's keep this story going. You're not going to believe what's coming next. My dad's name was Terry. He's not the villain in the story. He's also not the hero. He was just my dad. And losing him was one of the most complicated things I've ever had to sit with. I want to tell you what happened one night when I was 16, because it's the night that something got wired into me that I've never been able to unwire, and maybe I don't want to. Let me start by saying that, first of all, I'm the oldest kid. And so when I was younger, things seemed really good for a long time. Mom and dad lived in a place where I could run around and play. And my dad was definitely like, I was a daddy's girl when I was younger, for sure. And I remember playing softball with him, and I remember going to the daddy-daughter dance and all of those things. It was fun. It was a fun dad. And like I said, everything seemed good until all of a sudden it really wasn't. And he got involved in drugs and drinking. And I don't know why. I never really got the chance to ask him. But when you're 15, about to turn 16, and then everything in your life turns upside down, it's hard. And this one night, he came home and he was in a rage. Once we found out everything was going on, I think it was like a coke rage, but I don't know for sure. Again, I didn't get to ask. I remember my brother was like watching TV in my parents' bedroom, and my mom was helping my little sister with her homework. And I was in the living room, and he just was in a rage. Like, I'd never seen anything like it. He was talking menacing, and I think he was trying to yell at my little sister to do a better job, but he was stalking towards them like this, and he took my sister's ruler and either smacked her on the arm or the table or something, but she started crying and screaming. And I remember my mom grabbed my little sister, and now they're sort of backed up against the dining room. I can still see my dad walking this way, and she's saying, like yelling at him, "Terry, cut it out, cut it out." But he was not stopping. And I just got up and I called 911. I didn't know what else to do, right? But we needed help. This was out of hand, and I'd never seen anything like this before. My dad immediately turned his attention on me, and that stopped him from going after my mom and my sister. So that was good. But then he said things not great, things I'd never heard him say to me, like, "You bitch, you called 911." And my little brother came running out of the bedroom, and he was crying and upset and trying to take the phone away from me. And then my dad started going after me, and we're in the living room now. And I don't really talk about this. This is one of those things where I was like, these are other people's lives, right? But he just was walking towards me, and I was backing up across the living room because that's where the phone was. This was back in the day where we had phones, right? Like, you picked it up. It was a landline. And my mom saw what was happening, left my sister, came and tried to jump in between us and tell him, like, "Terry, get a hold of yourself, be reasonable." And he threw her down to the side, right in front of the stairs. So weird how I can remember this so clearly. And I don't know if I could say what I ate last week, right? But literally, I can see it all like a movie. And he kept coming towards me. Keep in mind, this is my dad for 16 years. And it's nighttime. I was in pajamas in a bathrobe, and I got my glasses on, and I'm 16 years old. And he backed me up to the wall by the front door. He's a really big man, 6 feet, but sort of as wide as he was tall. And it's hard to even say it. I just don't talk about this stuff. But he balled up a fist and punched me in the face and hit me in my eye. I just can't imagine someone doing this to their child. I'm a mom, right? And so he um, broke my glasses. I got a black eye, and then my head hit the wall, and I just sort of slid down. And I remember just sort of sitting there like, stop, what had happened? My mom got up from being on the floor and was yelling at him. He was completely ignoring her, and he was like so focused. That was the thing that was so crazy. Like from the beginning, from the kitchen to the dining room, he was focused on them. And then he turned his focus on me, and it was just so weird. I've never used those drugs. I don't know what they're like, but he was clearly in an altered state. And he went, I remember he had the presence of mind to go grab his toiletry kit. Who does that? So he went to the bathroom, he grabbed his toiletry kit. Everyone's crying. Everyone's hysterical. My little sister ran out the front door into a neighbor's house. And my mom goes, "Oh, my baby," and runs after her, which isn't the only time that has happened to me. I remember when we had the big earthquake, San Francisco Bay Area. What was it like in 7, 8, 9, something big? The freeway went down, remember? The 880. And we were at a doctor's appointment, my mom and I, and the earthquake happened when we were there. It was totally wild. And she goes, "My babies," and went running home and left me there. So sort of felt a little the same. So she ran after my sister to the neighbors. And then my dad, I was just like, what did you do? What are you doing? Like I was confronting him even in that moment, even after he did that to me. And I can't see, like if I take my glasses off, I just can't see anything. So that was hard. I can't see now. The glasses are all broken. And he grabbed my brother and his toiletry kit and went and got in his car, Oldsmobile. And I started to feel nauseous, like I was going to throw up. I remember I walked out the front door and I walked around the back towards the yard and sort of just did some dry heaves. I mean, I'd never been hit like that, front, the back, the whole thing, right? The drama of it all. And then I didn't throw up. I hate throwing up. I'll do anything in the world not to throw up. But I felt like it, was getting the heaves. I walked around and then back in the back door. And, we are supposed to be living in a really safe town and a safe neighborhood where this kind of stuff doesn't happen. That's meaningless, isn't it? And so I walked back in the house, and what had happened was the cop showed up. We don't see the cops show up, not in this neighborhood, right? And we have a driveway. It's a shared driveway between us and the neighbors on either side. And when he was backing the car up with my brother, the cops came behind him so he couldn't get out. My mom, my sister, my brother, they ended up in the living room. I know there were other people coming and going. It was just chaos. And the cop was standing on the front porch with my dad there. And they're like this. And they have the door open and they're talking to me. And you can already see the black eye. It's already started forming. The glasses are broken. I was, barely 16. And the cop said, "Did you hit her?" And my dad said, "I never laid a fucking hand on her." That was his quote. So they took him away, and I was like stunned, not just from the whole incident, but from the lying. And I was like, I have a problem with people lying. I don't lie. I'm not interested in it. And definitely that night, like just the evidence right in front of you, it's so clear what happened. And to tell that lie, and this is your dad is supposed to be your hero. Oh, and then I remember my mom saying, "Don't tell the kids you called 911." Like it was something to be ashamed of. Why? Why is she saying that? And why is that a secret? And then my brother sitting on the couch wailing what sounded like a dying animal. Um, I can still remember it. So painful. I think he loved his dad. I think he like sort of broke that night. I remember another relative saying to me, "Well, sometimes men just strike out." That's a great message to send a 16-year-old. And then another close relative saying, "Listen, if you just talk to your dad, everything will be fine." They kept him barely overnight and then let him out. And I think, in fact, I know because I did ask my mom, if he'd gone to rehab or done something like that, she would have been back together. I mean, she loved him. It was the only man she ever loved, but he didn't do that. He was in total denial. I remember hearing him on the phone the next day talking to my mom and then seeing some notes in her journal because she worked on the property and I saw it. I wasn't supposed to see it, but it was very derogatory towards me having him spend it was my fault that he spent half a night in jail. So there was no taking responsibility. So I didn't talk to him for 7 years. That's a long time when you were close to your dad, but I don't know. There was just something that I saw clearly, like this wasn't him. He wasn't in the right space. And I wasn't going to try to have a conversation with someone who couldn't even like admit what they were doing. And then I saw my brother and sister who did stay in touch with him and how much they were hurt. He said he'd come and see them and then they didn't. And my parents ended up divorcing you know, and then he was still into drugs and alcohol for a while. And when my brother was a teenager, he hung out with him a bit. And I think it was part of what got him involved and ruined his life. So, but I can honestly say my dad changed all of our lives that night. Um, so I didn't speak to him for 7 years. He finally got clean-ish. I don't know. I wasn't, there seeing if he went to meetings and did everything perfectly, but he finally became more like himself and could have a conversation that wasn't blaming someone else for what had happened. And so then I talked to him because that was sort of my criteria, you know, because for a while he wanted to blame mom. Like, what? It's really frustrating. And so when he finally came back into my life, it was sort of like meeting an uncle. Like you have a memory. I mean, I've already gone through 7 years without a dad. It was right at a formative time period too. Um, and so I sort of like met this uncle later in life. And then, you know, I I got married and not the crazy elopement, like got married for real. That's a whole nother story. But I had my baby, my sweet Nikita, and my dad and I started to connect again. He almost started to feel like I was getting a dad back. Like I remember she was born in September, so Thanksgiving, November, which is around my birthday. He did not join us at the Thanksgiving table. He just held her the whole time. He's like, I don't know, she's sleeping on his shoulder. And that was such a like tender moment. And so yeah, so I finally felt like I got my dad back, but then he died 4 months after Nikita was born. So it was very bittersweet. I didn't even go to the hospital. He was already gone. Congestive heart failure, but secondary to lung cancer and really just having abused his body. He died way too young. He was in his 50s like I am now. He didn't take care of himself and too much baggage. His dad had died around that age, so he thought he was supposed to and then spread that idea to my brother. How stupid is all of that? Like, really? And he was a smart guy. Why did he get involved in drugs and drinking? I think his dad drank too much, but who knows? Because families keep secrets and they just don't tell you enough. And then my brother, we were like so tight growing up. Just absolutely adored him. When I was like 4.5 when he was born, and I never talk about him. Most people don't even know I have a brother. But he was 4.5 when I was born, and I asked for him. So when my parents had him, I thought, thank you. Thank you for my baby. It was just like buying someone a doll. Um, and I was so close to him. He was such a good kid, so sweet. He looks so much like my dad. Um, but he got lost to drugs, and with California law and 3 strikes, basically that's it. So before, he's in prison for life. And so before I was 31, I had lost both of them. And yeah, 2 big losses before that age. And I didn't realize I wouldn't see the pattern till later, but when nobody moves, I move. And also around that time, even earlier, but I didn't recognize it, my body started keeping score. I just didn't know how to listen yet. So I stepped in front of my mom and my sister and called 911 that night because there was no one else to do so. It's not because I think I was brave or I had a plan. I don't think I'm brave. And sometimes I think I'm a little slow to act, like I think too much. But I've had situations where no one else did anything, and so I felt compelled to do something. I lost my dad twice. I lost Terry when I was a teenager, and whatever bottle or drug took him, and then I lost him again right after 4 months after I had a baby. And, she doesn't even know him or remember him, so we never got enough good time with him. I lost my brother too in a different way, but definitely lost him and have no connection to him at all. Um, and around the same time, my body was really shouting that something was wrong. I didn't know how to listen yet, but I'm gonna start telling you about that tomorrow. This episode 4. Don't miss it. Calling 911, stepping in front of my family. I've been doing some version of that my whole life. And my body started keeping score. Some of you might relate to this, right? What you won't believe is coming next involves a tire. A tire? Yes, a tire. Let's go. Episode 4 is coming.